When he gets in, he gets in.
Clicking the wrong buttons there.
Yeah, clicking the wrong buttons. That happens to us all the time, by the way. Everybody asks how we're dealing with this new technology. The answer is not well, my man. We are definitely not handling it well. Why can't anybody figure out Zoom is the question.
I can.
You can?
Yeah.
You're the only one, I think.
Well, it's...
The rest of us cannot. So...
yeah, do you ever think that Einstein walked around just thinking everybody was a fucking idiot?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you feel like is what you're saying?
Probably. I doubt he did, though. He probably was so wrapped up in the shit he was trying to do that he didn't really think about it. You'd have to think, right? Like, what's that old, I can't remember that old adage. Something about the mother's milk on the child's beak? No, it's like the frog, or something doesn't concern itself with the plight of the frog or some shit. Like, I can't remember, some old aphorism, but it's, I can't tell you. I really doubt Einstein was super concerned about what dumb people thought. I think he was. No.
Today's guest is Chad Prather on the show today.
If he can figure out technology.
Giorgio, is he in? He's back. He's back. You got him up on screen for the people. The people need to see him, Giorgio. There we go. Look at that. It's technology at its finest. Welcome to the show, Chad. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to be with you guys.
We were live, so we were talking about lamenting about the magic of Zoom and how none of us can figure it out. What I did, though, I see, like, because I think I have yours solved. What I saw before we got on camera was you pouring a huge glass of Jameson. So that could have been it. Boom. There it is.
Yeah. That was it, man. I gotta start drinking to be with you guys.
Yeah, you really do.
I really have been feeling too manly lately.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's like cutting your fingernails for me. Your fingernails get too long, you got to cut them, right? Your hair gets too long, you got to cut it. You start feeling too manly, like I'm dominating too much. And I that's why I drink White Claw all the time, to bring me back down to your guys' level.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Otherwise, I would just be like intimidating and dominating and possibly sexually assaulting you all the time. Look, I've got shit to do, so it wouldn't be all the time, but not that much shit to do.
Not that much shit to do. Chad, are you off today?
No, man, we're in studio. We're doing our show, the Chad Prather Show. But to your point, that's why I shaved my chest.
Yeah, you got to.
Do you shave it so you don't wax it?
No, I don't wax it, dude. I found the greatest thing in the world. I wish I knew what to call it, but it's this thing on this long extended arm.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a blade. It doesn't exactly shave. It just kind of shucks the hair right off of you.
Oh, shit.
You can even do your back and the whole deal.
You know,
fantastic.
You gotta try out Manscaped too.
Yeah.
I got Manscaped, baby.
For the chest and pubis.
I got Manscaped. My jewels are perfect. You got that little ball spray. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's the best. It's one of our sponsors. I'm not today, but we'll throw them a free promo here. DB Sports is the promo code for manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping there. Chad, are you running for governor? Is that true?
Yeah,
I just read that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, somebody just brought me a gift in here. I want to show it to you guys. Somebody actually found my tweet. Well, actually, it's not somebody. It's my sister and assistant, Allison. She had it framed, my tweet. You probably can't see it, but that's my tweet where it says, I'm running for governor of Texas. They had it fucker framed.
No way.
So it's fantastic. A lot of people thought it was a joke, but it's not a joke. We're going to do this thing because, let's face it, the whole situation's fucked up.
Yeah, so you're not a big fan of Governor Wheelchair then, is what you're saying?
The man P's sitting down.
Well, kind of has to, though.
Yeah,
right?
he has to. Right?
I don't think that's. I don't think he's doing that on purpose.
Nah, him and Hawking. Hawking always Pete sitting down as well. So I can't fault him for that.
On himself.
Yeah. The only time I think it's okay to pee sitting down is if the toilet seat is heated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you're just enjoying a little luxury.
Yeah.
That's all
I'm at a point now, though. I'm at a point now, guys, where I will do it at night, like 2:00 in the morning. Get in there. You're just too tired to stand there and too tired to aim and too tired to lift the seat. So I'll just go ahead and do it. But at my age, which I'm 48 today, as a matter of fact.
Happy birthday. Holy shit.
Thank you, buddy. I get up to pee so much that now I just started going to to bed and just go to sleep on the toilet and visit the bed 5 times a night.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, or you can diaper up.
Yeah, you can diaper up, or I'll go as long, like especially on a Sunday, because we host a sports show. So I'll do the old fantasy football on the toilet until the left leg usually gives out while I'm setting lineups for that, and then that's when I know I've got to get up and go on about my day. But the governor thing is real, so you're definitely going to do that. That is not a joke.
Yeah, this stage in the game, quite honestly, if I tried to back out, people would crucify me. I had no idea on July the 2nd, whenever I made that announcement, that many people were going to jump on it the way that they did, but they did. And, I think at this stage in the game, I've done so much and put so much out there. We got to go for it. But no, honestly, I want to do it. I'm going to do it. I wasn't pursuing politics, but it's more like politics kind of pursued me. I really don't have anything to lose. Somebody's got to come out there and speak a little common sense and try to at least stir this thing up, because it's a mess. This is a mess. 2020 has been a shit show, and we got to get back to a point where we let people have a little responsibility, man, and not treat them like children in diapers. And that's exactly what Greg Abbott's done with the people of Texas.
Yeah, I got to say, it's unfortunate that we've come to this this point in American politics and media where there's no middle ground between, and I don't mean middle ground between conservative and liberal. I mean middle ground between people who are full of shit and people who aren't. And here, typically the person that you see in public that's not full of shit is loud and boisterous, and oftentimes is so anti-PC that it comes across as them being an asshole. But really, who's doing you the bigger favor? The person that pats you on the back and encourages you when you're trying to put a fork into an electrical socket, or the person that slaps it out of your hand and calls you an idiot? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, one of those things is rude and one of them is not rude, but who's actually doing you the favor is the question I would ask people. And I don't think most people would be able to answer that question without saying, yeah, but. No, there's no yeah, but, motherfucker. If you're trying to strip away the individual liberty, the thing that makes this country what it is, in any form, then you're a piece of shit. Yeah. You got to get the fuck out of here, right?
Yeah. What was the final straw for you?
The final straw for me was the mask mandate that came down July 2nd. That was the deal for me. I think there's two people out there. There's people who want to be left alone, and there's people who just won't leave people the fuck alone. And I want people to be left alone. That's the whole nature of freedom, right? Leave me alone. Let me do my shit. And when you're mandating people lose their jobs, I mean, you're forcing people to lose their jobs, or I'm in the entertainment industry, man. You start shutting down bars and music venues and performing arts theaters where you go out and do comedy or do live music, band stuff. Suddenly these people are unemployed. The entrepreneurial spirit gets destroyed. And so that mask mandate was the final straw for me, where I just said, screw it, man. Somebody's got to speak up. Somebody's got to put their money where their mouth is. And I've done that a few different times, a few different ways. Like, for instance, Ticketmaster recently came out with a deal that says, unless you got a COVID test, you can't go to an event. We won't even sell you tickets. So I started a ticket company, Valor Tickets. And my thing is, we're going to fight this thing in every possible way that we can. You got to quit limiting people and treat them like adults. That's what they are.
Yeah, man. And look, that exact scenario happened to me last night, ironically. I went to see Chappelle and Joe Rogan did a show at Stubbs Barbecue here in Austin last night. And this is the only, we had actually talked about this in another show. That's about the only comedians on earth that I would get one of those swabs down the back of my neck and, all that shit jammed up your nose for, where it was just like, all right, it's a once in a lifetime show. They're doing it at Stubbs. There's 100 people or whatever it is. And they put us in stalls. So, you walked in with a group of 4 or 6. They gave you this swab inside of a thing. You had to write your name on it, your address, everything else. Nurses came around, swabbed you, and then you had to wait 15 minutes to make sure, the test came back that you were negative. And then you still had to wear a mask inside the show. And the guy that came on and opened up for Rogan and Chappelle, was trying to warm up the crowd, obviously. He goes, why is nobody laughing? And he goes, oh, wait, because you guys all stood in line for 2 hours and got something jammed down the back of your fucking nose just so you could see a comedy show. And he was right. Like, after that, it kind of broke the ice, where it was just like, yeah, man, for 2 hours, everybody was just kind of pissed off waiting in this line. And then you had to go in, blocks of people together. Some you didn't know. and get these swabs done. And then they came out and announced it like you had just gotten fucking 028 bingo, you know? I mean, it was crazy. And that's where we're headed. I don't want to be headed there. And hopefully, you know, with the shit that you're doing and if you run and actually win, you can get out of this. When you look at the lawsuits that Abbott is underneath here in the state of Texas, like, does that type of shit worry you?
No. You know, that's a lot of that is kind of par for the course. You have aspects of that come along with the position and with the office. But no, you know, I started out, honestly, a Greg Abbott fan. I liked Greg and appreciated his direction, appreciate where he was going and some of the positions he took. I don't know if he's been bought out by big business. I don't know what the exact story is. I have my inclinations there, my hunches, and they're probably pretty close to accurate, honestly. But, you know, these governors, you know, one of the things that this mask mandate and these swabs and these tests and vaccines and all the debates have taken on is revealed the little dictators that live inside these governors and these mayors and these local politicians and these state politicians, because it's given them more authority than I think they ever expected to have, and it's probably more than they are even capable of carrying. And so they pass these little edicts from on high, you know, from their little thrones, and they start telling everybody how to live their lives. So, you know, I think that if you truly represent a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and you try to live up to that, I don't think you have to deal with a lot of those issues. And that's easier said than done. I understand that. But, you know, we got to get back to a point where the people have the power and they've got the authority, and they determine who is their elected representative and not their king. I mean, I just read a thing. I just read a thing just this morning. YouTube has now changed its policies again to say that you can't criticize the government. They're actually going to start censoring video content that criticizes the government. Well, if that's the case, and that's the kind of government we're going to live under, then fuck the government, because I ain't bowing the knee to King George, man. And that's exactly what they're asking us to do. They can kiss my ass with that. And so, you know, we just recorded a show episode on mine that'll air tonight, where we spent the first 15 minutes criticizing the fucking government, because you piss off with that stuff. You know, those are the kind of things that really, really irritate me. These guys that just want to sit up there, and then you got big tech that's going to protect them. No, I don't believe in that at all.
I don't either. I know you're obviously on the Blaze network. Is your show on YouTube, or is it on another platform through the Blaze? Because if
we've got it.
Yeah, if it is, then you're going to have to deal with this bullshit going forward. I know we have. You know, we've had a ton of controversial guests on this show, and I don't want to censor who we bring on as guests just because of what a fucking algorithm thinks. But, you know, like, dude, because we had Alex Jones on election night, and we did a live election show, 265,000 live viewers. The second that video ended, that was it. It was 265,000 views. No one ever found it again. And unless you're on the back end, it's almost like it didn't exist. How challenging is that going to be for your show if they end up doing that and enforcing it?
Well, one of the things that I encourage people to do always is to support these independent broadcasters like The Blaze. You know, we're independent. Obviously, folks can get content at Blaze TV, but we're also on Hulu. Not Hulu, we're on Pluto. Sorry, I always fuck that up. We're on Pluto, channel 138. So that's another avenue. But my episodes are on Monday through Thursday night. And we're on live. We premiere live on YouTube. And to your point, it does affect us, right? Because we start to see where the numbers just die off as soon as the episode is over with. My page, you know, I've got 4 Facebook pages. I've got Chad Prather. I've got a couple of those. I got Watch Chad Prather. I got Political Cowboy. The reason we have those is they represent different things and different focuses we do. But I used to do videos that would have 30, 45 million views. You guys are familiar with the virality of videos. Y'all have done it plenty of times yourselves. Yeah. These days, if you were to get 500,000 views on some things, the average guy that's used to getting 10 million on a video, if it gets 500,000, you're feeling lucky, right? It's gotten harder and harder to do that.
Right.
My page, politicalcowboy.com, We used to get 750,000 unique visitors a day on that page. Then in 2017, the censorship of social media started, and rather than the floodgates being brought, they just closed them right off. And we were having maybe 3,500 people visiting a day. That's a definite way to end business really, really fast. And it put a lot of people out of business. So how do we deal with that is we continue to diversify. I don't think that there are alternatives yet for Twitter and for Facebook and for Instagram. Yeah, there's the Parlors, there's the MeWe's, there's the Rumbles, and all of these different things. But let's face it, they've got maybe a couple $1 million a year to spend on a budget, whereas Facebook has billions of dollars to spend on their budget. So they don't have the bells and whistles yet. And a lot of people don't want to give it the time to try it out. If you went back to Facebook 2007, well, you probably wouldn't like it. Compared to what you're used to today, because it was a completely different format. But I think people have got to continue to use every platform available to them and network. That's one of the reasons I like being connected with you guys. I like being connected with so many of the like-minded patriots that are out there, that we can reach out to one another and say, hey, let's hold the arms up that are getting weary and try to help each other maintain the course and keep that platform and that voice as loud and clear as possible. So networking is key, and making sure that you're staying out there and putting it out there, promoting, pushing, and being on as many platforms as possible. But at the end of the day, they got us by the ball sack, right? And all they got to do is tug and squeeze and twist, and we're screwed. So I encourage people, get on with those independent broadcasters, your OAN, your Newsmax, Blaze TV, various ones. Hell, I love InfoWars. I love Alex. Alex has been on my show a number of times. I've been on his. I love that nut job. He's fantastic. And then of course, the podcasting aspect of it as well. If it may come to where we're audio only in some cases, and that's the only way people can find us. But the way to do that is just keep subscribing, keep pushing, and keep listening in.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you brought up the Parler thing, I'm with you. And I had said to the audience the same thing. Stay patient with some of these apps. If you truly want to change things, because we always bitch on the show about there's got to be other apps and other social media avenues. I've been patient with Parler, and I find myself going there more and more and more where, and I'm at Ross Patterson, by the way, on there. I'm sure you're on there too, at Chad Prather. Yeah. On there,
yeah. Is that Watch Chad? Yeah,
Watch Chad. And what I've noticed, at least in the last 2 to 3 months on Parler, is the more and more money that is coming in for them, they're slowly improving that site and that app, and it is getting better. Like you were saying, Facebook in 2007 was garbage. It was like the first MySpace and everything else. Like, it does take time for these things to evolve. We've dabbled in Rumble a couple times with some videos. Not a ton of success on Rumble yet.
No,
but
but it's we're right now, even in this conversation, we're so focused on if this can work and how to make it work, but we're not focused on whether or not we should even be trying to make it work. Like, is this the right thing to build your own independent media source? Because what is the result of that ultimately? I mean, people from the middle, by and large, are not going to go to Parler. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
Probably. Not unless Democrats do something super fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean restrictive or unconstitutional, because clearly that's not a needle mover for either side. Mm-hmm. I don't think either part. The Constitution is the most selectively applied document in all of human history, except for maybe the Bible, right? And siloing these two independent groups like this, one that has a lot of money, one that doesn't. I mean, what you're talking about is a social and cultural insurgency, right? Mm-hmm. But the ultimate point of an insurgency isn't just to create chaos or even to get your message out. It's to develop patronage, right? Like, your first step is to make a lot of noise. Step 2 is to win other people to your side. And maybe you can do that to some degree. But if you're isolated and people, feel like that, well, this is the place I go for the right-wing talking points, Twitter or Facebook is where I go for the left-wing talking points. Is that really the kind of system that we want to be in? You know what I mean? Because it doesn't demand intellectual honesty out of either side.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. There's no self-correcting mechanism there.
So here's what I found, and I don't know if you found the same thing, Chad, but like Parler for me, so I have I used to have 50 or 60,000 Twitter followers at one point. We've had so many controversial guests on that, slowly it got nuked down to 50 grand or something like that. It seems like it's been an even number of 50 for 2 or 3 years now at this point, which is fine. I really don't give a shit about Twitter. I'm there for the news, and that's about it, right? With Parler, though, on the other hand, if I put something out on Parler, and I just started a few weeks ago, so I only have a couple thousand followers. It goes way further, and there's no algorithm. Nothing's being censored or blocked than it does on Twitter.
But there's also less total traffic there as well, so you're competing less. You know what I mean? Like if you have 5,000 jelly beans and there's 10 yellow ones in the whole bunch, it might be relatively simple to find those. But if there's 20 million jelly beans and you're trying to find, you know what I mean? It's I'm a big fan of jelly beans, by the way.
Huge jelly bean fan.
Ronald Reagan was as well.
Yeah,
but he also raised taxes 5 out of the 8 years he was in office. So.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
Ronald Reagan.
Man, we've had you know the last good Republican president we had was
Trump.
Was H.W. Bush.
I love Trump.
No.
He doesn't like Trump. I'm a Trump guy.
I don't dislike Trump's policies. I dislike the fact that he had a lot of the right answers, and because he was such a cunt all the time, he couldn't fucking deliver those right answers. That's like being a doctor and you've got a syringe full of Narcan or something. You can save this person's life. And there's family standing around. You're like, all right, we're going to fuck this guy up with some Narcan. They're like, whoa. And you can't save the guy's life because you're such a fucking cunt. That is a problem. You know what I mean?
I enjoy his whole shit.
It's funny.
Where were you at on Trump?
Because you get it. That's the problem is there's so many people who don't get it. That's the thing. Like I can go to a Trump rally or speech and laugh my ass off the whole time because I get it. But you're exactly right. He pulls off that shit in spite of himself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, Parler, you take Parler. Parler's like an echo chamber, right? You get on there, everybody's going to kiss your ass. Everybody's going to agree with you. You say something, and look, at the end of the day, I'm a salesman, right? I have a business. I try to sell T-shirts. I try to sell merchandise, and we put products out there. We want to make money. We're capitalists. We're just, we're all alike in that regard. That restriction of traffic that happens on these other social programs is still better for me, exposure-wise, at least at this point, than the traction I get with everybody agreeing with me on Parler.
Gotcha.
So I'd much rather have some guy, some asshole come along and say something to me that's a smart-ass comment. At least it triggers engagement on a negative level, but at least it triggers the engagement and gets the stuff that's coming through. That Parler's missing that at this point.
Yeah, and that's another.
There's no good debate. I don't care about the comments on Parler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's, it's another indictment of political correctness and because that becomes an echo chamber in and of itself. Where I say this all the time, but bad ideas don't get exposed in silence. They get exposed when you put the idea out there, and then everybody's like, no, that's stupid. You know what I mean? Like if the government were to put out these numbers that say that more and more people are being admitted into hospitals because of COVID. That is untrue. They're being admitted to hospitals for various reasons, then being tested, and some of them have COVID, some of them don't, and they're counting all those numbers towards people who are hospitalized for COVID.
Right.
With and for, 2 different words, 2 different meanings, right? Mm-hmm. So if you just lay the information out for people, and you don't have, look, we've been doing this in business and government and the military for years, a one sheet, bluff, bottom line up front, whatever you want to call it. Here are the basic facts, and here's a little bit of context to make that fact make sense. Most human beings can receive that information and process it and come up with a conclusion, right?
Yeah.
But they don't do that. CNN writes an article that's like 15 pages long. Actually, there's one from the LA sheriff. I think it was today, actually. Let me pull it up right quick. Because it's really fucking stupid. So 158 people arrested. Sex trafficking victim recovered at, quote, super spreader party in Los Angeles County. Now, this story is really about, they found out there was an underground party going on where they were fucking potentially sex trafficked young women, and they busted it up. And then the LA County sheriff, for some reason, the main complaint he seemed to have was it's a flagrant violation of the governor's health order. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, that's how you branded that piece of content. That it's a violation of the fucking COVID order. Not that a fucking 17-year-old girl got sold into sexual slavery and this entire operation was to make sure that didn't happen. You stupid motherfucker.
Yeah, look, it's going to continue to happen. It's only going to get worse. Which look, I think has risen to the popularity of podcasts for us in particular, man. Let me ask you this: any thought that Trump actually buys Newsmax and creates his own media network?
If I were Trump, I would buy something. I would be I mean, look, here's a guy who's, in 200 years, aliens will probably invade Earth and they'll dig up our artifacts and they'll find our Twitter records and they'll say, look, they took a washed up game show host and made him their king. That's what he is. That's his bread and butter, right? He's an entertainer at the end of the day. And that's one of the things that's caused him not to be able to get out of his own way. It's not COVID, I swear to God.
We don't care anyways.
I know, right? You're over there. But I think that it'd be smart in many ways. Trump TV would be a fun idea, right? I think it'd be interesting to see what it becomes.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't know if you read this morning's report, but because Newsmax is hard to find. I tried to find it on my channel. It was like, dude, channel 1,463, and it's not lumped in with the rest of the news stations. But this morning, man, I looked at the ratings. Newsmax beat Fox News at 10 p.m. on Monday nights.
Again, we're asking, can or will Trump do this? And I think we should be asking whether or not he should.
Well, so here's where I'm going with this. It was because of Trump that he said, "Hey, man, ditch Fox, go to Newsmax." That they were able to, they beat him by 26,000 viewers in that key demo of 25 to 54. If he has enough power to bring in Newsmax to beat Fox at 10 o'clock, because off the top of my head, I'm trying to think who that 10 o'clock spot is. Is it Laura Ingraham or is it Hannity?
10 is...
It's Ingraham.
It's Ingraham, okay. I mean...
Hannity's 9.
That's a big fucking deal, man. And if he's able to do that with a tweet, imagine if he was actually on the network on a regular basis.
Well, if you think President Trump's tweets were bad, wait till ex-President Trump starts tweeting. That's when it's going to get really crazy. Because there's no longer Republicans and Democrats. There are Trump supporters and non-Trump supporters.
Right.
That's what we saw. Nobody voted for Joe fucking Biden, right? Nobody voted for Joe Biden. They voted against Donald Trump. And that's because nobody can tell me what Joe Biden stands for.
Yeah.
But just imagine having that level of power. You can sit butt naked on a toilet at 3:30 in the morning in the West Wing of the White House, spray painted orange, the whites of his eyes. And he's sitting there talking about crazy Chuck Schumer, nervous Nancy, and, Covfefe and all this stuff. And he hits tweet and he controls the news cycle for 36 hours across the board.
Yeah.
Trump's never going away. Trump's never going away. Joe Biden's not bringing in ratings for anybody. So they're going to follow Trump's ass forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, CNN's going to spend the next fucking 4 to 8 years covering whatever Trump does.
Yeah.
And his media company. It'll be completely pointless, by the way. It's just like noise that contributes nothing to American society. Like, he'll be making noise that contributes nothing, and CNN will be covering the noise he's making that contributes nothing.
Yeah.
And we'll get no news. Imagine somebody, like, we have this idea of conservative and liberal news. What about conservative math or Christian architecture or Muslim landscaping? It's fucking stupid. News is news, goddammit. News is news. Information is information. There are ones and zeros. There's a lot of nuance and gray areas in life, but facts are facts.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And we're fucked. I mean, this is just stupid. We may as well fucking be. We should just all go join the circus.
Which is why Chad should be governor.
And the reason we're fucked is because there is no, as you say, there's no journalistic objectivity.
No.
There's only op-ed pieces anymore. So at the end of a newscast or at the end of reading an article, if I know the writer's opinion or the host's opinion or the reporter's opinion about the subject, then I didn't get the news. I got an op-ed piece. And that's why, look, I'm biased. Of course I have my own biases, but I'm an opinion guy. That's what I do. But if I'm going to report the news, I just report the news. That's why I still contend that local newscasts are basically the best place to get it. And Twitter, you mentioned that earlier. Yeah. The first place I check for news is Twitter. Same. Every single day.
Yep.
Every single day, 3 o'clock in the morning, if I wake up, I look at Twitter. I don't look at the opinions. I just see what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I'm the same on that one. And, fuck. The rest of it gets jammed into my face, and then that's what makes me angry. I'm usually angry on Twitter, even though I'm only going there for news, within a matter of 60 to 90 seconds. Because in my feed, they'll throw some asshole in there that it's like, it's the one guy I talked about last week, the Brooklyn defiant dad. There's just people who have made a living off of Trump, like just tweeting against Trump, but they do nothing in real life. They don't host a show or anything else. It's just they have these huge Twitter followings because they wait for him to tweet, and then they tweet against it all goddamn day long. But I'm the same. So I wake up, I go to Twitter for news. It's super fast and instant. I wish it wasn't controlled by the grown-up Peter Dinklage. That is their fucking leader there, Jack Dorsey, because that guy's a real piece of shit. But what you were saying, with Biden in now for 4 years, they're not going to have what he said, an inauguration probably. It'll be a virtual type of deal, is what Biden said the other day. I think, they're going to try to limit him to these 4 to 8 minute speeches here and there and keep it pretty controlled for the next 4 years. Obviously, somebody else will be running his Twitter. Some would argue somebody should have done that for Trump as well. But you're right. There will be nothing to report on for the next 4 years with a Biden presidency. What does that do to a guy like you over at The Blaze who, you guys are heavy politics? We have, anywhere from like Oscar winners to porn stars on here. So we're not really dependent upon, who's in president, but somebody like you guys are. How do you guys cover this? And what's the strategy over there at The Blaze of like, all right, well, fuck, how do we cover a president who doesn't speak or isn't seen?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, and I'll speak for myself on that, I think it's better for business. And I say that hesitantly because my theory was this: had Hillary Clinton been elected back in 2016, my business would have gone through the roof. My business has been good, but my business would have gone through the roof because we wouldn't have had the same level of censorship on big tech and social media. I don't think you would have had Cambridge Analytica. You wouldn't have had Russian collusion. You wouldn't have had these so-called Russian meddling through social media things, these clampdowns that happened that kind of sealed off the flood flow, as it were. So with Biden, I think that the grip's going to get maybe a little more loose, although they're going to be a little more critical of how he is criticized. We're already seeing that, as we alluded to earlier with YouTube. Mm-hmm. But I think with Joe Biden, if he's disappearing, I think I go at it, from a humorous standpoint of consistently putting out a silver alert of where is this guy? Why? Who kidnapped him? He's MIA. Where the hell is he? Let's put him up on a billboard somewhere. And they're good at these vanishing acts, right? They're good. We don't know where Hunter Biden is. We don't know what the hell Hunter Biden's doing.
Well, I can guess where he is. I mean, what's the phrase?
I can guess.
Trap house,
and
I think is what they call it.
Says, man, Hunter Biden can party.
Yeah, if you wanted to hang out with Jared Kushner or Hunter Biden, who would you choose? And let's all answer at the same time. It's obviously Hunter Biden smoking crack all day today.
From the trap house to the White House, like, I get it, man. He's probably getting a foot job somewhere over in Thailand, enjoying his best life smoking crack. I watched the sex tape. I don't know if you did, but
the dude's very cosmopolitan. He knocked up a girl named Dallas from Arkansas in Washington, D.C.
It's a lot of cities.
That's a lot of cities right there. The dude gets around. But yeah, you're probably right. Hunter's a trip though, man. And the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, which tells me a whole lot about Joe Biden, pretty much. Look, Joe Biden's bought out. He's sold out to China, the Ukraine, God knows wherever else. Joe Biden keeps showing us the playbook, but his dementia-riddled mind won't let him even put a filter on that. They showed how these politicians get rich by setting up these shells over here, and the family makes all the money. And then these guys who make $175,000 a year wind up making millions and millions, and they blame it on a book, right? So I wrote a book. No, you didn't write a fucking book. You got paid from the Ukraine or from China, and you just shelled it through you laundered it through your family. He told us that they built the greatest voter fraud organization in history. Well, we see that. He didn't mean to say it like that. He didn't mean to even let that out. The other day in an interview while he's sitting next to Kamala Harris, he says, well, I'll just get a disease and resign. See, these are all strategy things that they've run over in the back room, but this guy can't shut the fuck up. He keeps showing his hand. And I keep telling people, I'm like, guys, if you'll just pay attention, he's telling us what the hell is really going on. But everybody says, well, he didn't mean that. He was joking. He's got a stuttering problem, blah, blah, blah. That was a mistake. Horseshit. So that's my angle. I'm going to look at those things. And look, they spent 3 years trying to prove Russian collusion. We're going to spend the next 3 to 4 years trying to prove voter fraud. That's the nature of this business. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to report on. But for me, I'm more of a cultural guy, honestly, and politics comes into play based on how it affects culture. So for me, I'm just going to keep pointing out the ignorance of people, the dumb things that people say. I just read an article today. It was a piece out of Cosmopolitan. Yeah, Cosmopolitan, where this family said, I'm going to take my black child and move to Canada because I'm too afraid to live in America anymore. I'm sitting there thinking, well, if you're living in Chicago, you might want to get your black child out of there because that lifespan's not very long.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of dumb shit that you're reading. People that are wanting you to take your twinkling Christmas lights down because it's oppressive against people who can't afford Christmas lights. That's the kind of dumb shit I like to make fun of, right? And that stuff's not going to go away. In fact, it's going to get worse and worse as we go forward.
Yeah, and I agree with you on Biden with the China thing. We had Scott Galloway, who's a New York University professor and political commentator. He's been one of the guys that's kind of led the charge in anti-tech, but he's super liberal. He's actually a progressive guy. Even he admits that the only person that got China right was Trump, right? And Biden is going to be a complete backslide from that. So I've got some questions. One of the big themes when Obama first got into office was that he brought dignity back to the White House. What conservatives would call the fucking European apology tour. And Democrats, obviously thought that was a good thing. I got to ask this question. Do you believe that America has the right answers or not? We talk about moral high ground a lot in these kind of debates. I'll tell you this: America is not using Iger's slave labor and murdering people. We're not murdering female children for decades. We're not throwing gay people off of rooftops as a matter of principle, like Saudi Arabia. So if we indeed have the moral high ground, and I think it's pretty clear from just those three examples that we do, isn't there a moral imperative for us to lead from the front? So you have to, if that's true, why do we consider capitulation to these despotic regimes through partnerships with like China and Saudi Arabia and all these shit countries and pretend like it makes us woke and evolved somehow? Like, oh, you're just a fucking redneck, fucking nationalist. Like, no, dude. I think that people should be allowed to do what they want to do, and I think we should have a system in place that protects that right. That's it. That's all I really care about in politics. And all these other countries that you're trying to make deals with, and you think it's somehow strengthening our country, no.
Yeah.
You rise to the level of the people that are around you, and you fall to the level of the people around you. Why are we associating ourselves with these fucking shitbags? And then pretending like we're fucking bright.
Yeah.
Like we've got Biden's going to reestablish our relationship with Iran. Fuck Iran. We should drop a goddamn nuclear bomb on every major city in Iran right now and just call it quits. Because that country's fucking done.
Yeah.
They're going to be a problem forever.
Ever and ever and ever. And I think China's going to be a problem forever and ever and ever. For whatever reason, no one wants to talk about, the COVID, how it was made in a fucking lab. There's no way there was a guy with a bat in a wet market.
No, we know from last week that new information came out that China severely underreported their COVID numbers early.
Yeah.
And allowed people to travel all over the place. So even if it wasn't made in the lab, they are responsible for the fucking global spread of COVID. There's no question about that. But you can't say it. Why can you not say that?
I don't know.
That is just an observation. I can tell you this. If America was wrong, if Trump did something wrong,
the entire world would have came down on Trump with a fucking hellfire.
Look, they're already doing it. They're already doing it. Trump's responsible for 275,000 deaths, right? That's what they're saying. So they already blame Trump. They already blame America. America's got the worst COVID cases than any place in the world right now. Well, look, man, I give you a couple of examples. One, we have a military that exists to liberate people. Most militaries around the world exist to oppress people, and they oppress their own people. We don't use our military to oppress our own people, and we don't go in and oppress other people. We liberate. That's one thing that makes America exceptional. Another thing is this: You know, Iran, you mentioned Iran. We send, Barack Obama sends $1 billion in pallets of cash to Iran. And I've actually had people who have come to me when I've criticized that and said, but it was their money anyway. Well, if I take millions of dollars from the drug cartels of Mexico, I'm not going to ship the cash back to the fucking cartels so that they can go back into business. That's a dumb policy, but that was Barack Obama's policy. It's an ass-kissing policy. We're not going to do that. The neighborhood I live in every month puts a sign in people's yards. One house in the neighborhood is yard of the month because it's the best looking, most manicured yard. And you got all these folks out there who want good looking front yard. And the world looks at America and people say, well, I'd be here. We got tens of thousands of people lined up at the southern border trying to get in this country. Can't get a single celebrity to leave, even though they're threatening to do it constantly. I say kick their asses out. But people want to come into this country. There's a reason why, because we are exceptional. And now we want to do this globalization bullshit where we just level the playing field and make everybody equal. But I'm sorry, I spent 20 years in Africa. They're not equal over there. They're not equal. The culture's not equal. The government's not equal. The economy's not equal. Anything out there is not equal. And by the way, you mentioned China. China owns Ethiopia. They're out of arable land. They can't grow crops anymore. So they go in. They buy our land, they buy African land, and they're taking over economically. They're owning property everywhere we go. Yeah. And so, no, I say, you can call me what you want to call me. And I've been called everything. But at the end of the day, we're the best. We're the best. And people want to stop being the best. That doesn't make any damn sense to me.
No, I mean, there's look, you all out there in the audience, regardless of what you believe, if you're a good person and you're trying to do the right thing, you know that it's not about you intrinsically being better than somebody else. It's that you've chosen to do the right things, right?
Right.
And there's a number of ways to handle that. You can talk about how you have chosen to do the right things all the time, or you can fucking lead. There's nothing wrong with holding people accountable. As a matter of fact, it is the linchpin of any society, is holding each other accountable, because otherwise we're all just fucked. I mean, there's no standard to appeal to if we're not holding each other accountable. I would ask you, if you're out there in the audience and you're a left-leaning person and you're thinking about all this stuff, 2 questions. One, have you ever been in a position where somebody was clearly doing the right thing and you used your influence because you knew you were doing the right thing to pressure them or whatever, persuade them, whatever it is, embarrass them so much that they have to do the right thing? I think that is a good thing to do, frankly, and it's something that's important to do. The other question I would ask you is that, man, if you're going to choose a leader for anything, why would you choose a pussy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why choose somebody that's weak and ineffectual? If you want somebody to negotiate and make deals, that's what the fucking Secretary of State's for, motherfucker. It's not the president's job to do that shit. But somehow this president has managed to negotiate at least 3 Israel-Middle East peace deals, if you don't count the ongoing talks that are happening right now between Benjamin Netanyahu and the Saudi Arabian government. So who is it again that we're looking for as a leader? I don't think anybody respects Joe Biden. I don't think anybody does, frankly. I haven't heard one person give me a solid answer to the question, why did you vote for Joe Biden? Don't use the words Donald or Trump.
Right.
I haven't heard one answer that was in any way fucking remarkable or even palatable.
I haven't heard one person say, hey, man, there's this one policy that he believes in that he keeps talking about. I haven't heard that either. I'm with you. Speaking of which, do you genuinely think he won this election?
No, not in any way, shape, or form. The problem is, with all the evidence that's out there, I mean, look, if you had one case of COVID, right, you'd shut down every business in town. If you got one evidence of voter fraud, then we should take a whole look at the entire election again, right? The logic falls down. The people don't want to compare it like that. There's plenty of evidence. Being able to prove it in the court or even having the court listen to it is what's proven difficult. My issue there is, if this election were overturned and they were able to expose that level of fraud and a smoking gun, it would completely undermine everything that America is globally. Because at the end of the day, America, let's face it, with all of its flaws and problems, still works. There's still a glue that holds a lot of the world together based on the foundations of how well America's doing. if we were to show that level of corruption, it would screw up the whole thing, man. And globally, I don't know that anybody's prepared for what would happen if this thing were truly overturned and that level of corruption was shown. Now, if it was just a matter of being able to go out and recount votes and say, okay, we screwed up, and leave all this Dominion voting machines and things like that out, that'd be one thing. But I don't think they're capable of doing that. And I just don't think that level of evidence, I don't think any honest person is really ready to hear that, because if he didn't win this election, if Joe Biden didn't win this election, that's the level of corruption we've never even realized. But I honestly think the voter corruption goes all the way back to the 60s. I don't know that we've had an honest election since the 60s.
All right. Well, look, if you haven't had an honest election since the 60s, then, shit. I guess we get what we get here. I don't think any of this shit's going to be overturned. Therefore, Dan and I haven't really put much thought or effort into it, because I'm with you on that statement. I know you were cutting a little bit in and out on our side, but I'm with you on, shit, man. If it did get overturned, the whole goddamn world would burn down. And I think it's too late for that. I mean, we're in December 9th. When do they usually certify? By the 12th or 13th? Yeah. So that's out of there. I get a question here from one of the listeners live here that's super interesting. I don't know how well you know the state of Texas, but obviously if you're running for governor, you might know it. There's a guy named John Mark Mercer. Whoever goes by three names is probably a serial killer, obviously. But it says, can y'all talk about the retired Chinese general that just bought Morningstar Ranch, which is 200 acres, and installed an airstrip in Belvedere, Texas? Ironically, it's near all the pilot training centers. Interesting, odd question to ask. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's near Laughlin Air Force Base, I believe.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where if people will wake up, they'll see more and more situations like that happening. Like, for instance, they're wanting to put a high-speed railway in Texas, and it is a Japanese company. They're literally selling land to the Japanese government and Japanese private business in order to do that. So we're starting to see more and more of those things. It's really scary. We got to wake up to this stuff. This is the kind of thing that bugs me, that we're allowing these things to happen in the state of Texas. We're starting to see the demise of Texas in a big way, in my opinion, because
we're having some tech issues over here. I'll speak to this a little bit.
It's on his end?
Yeah, it is. If you think about it from a business perspective, let's say you're a founder of a business with a couple of your buddies, and you start looking into investments and things like that. You got to be real fucking careful about who you give control over your fucking stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Go watch whatever that fucking Zuckerberg movie is. What was it called? The Social, whatever the fuck.
The Social Dilemma?
No.
Oh, The Social Network.
The Social Network, yeah. And look at how he fucked everybody out of their shares and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. One malicious agent inside of an organization like that can fuck everything up. You got to be really careful who you, for example, sell property, land to, real estate, who you allow into business and stuff like that. Is China our country rather, that we want to be partnered with? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I mean, it's an interesting question to me when you get down to it, because I mean, think about American politics. Trump could get, like, David Duke could run up on stage and take a selfie with Trump right quick, and the headline the next day would be like, oh, Trump supports white supremacy. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we fucking go again, right? But people are fucking stupid, and just a causal association of any kind can really damage your brand, so to speak. And I wonder, what are we doing to the American brand when we say, you know what? I know they don't let women drive. I know that they throw gay people off buildings. I know that they 80% of the primary schools in Saudi Arabia are madrasas, mm-hmm. which teach radical Islam. They teach hate for the West in America. But hey, we need that oil, man. Yeah, we got to get it. No, fuck them. There's no fucking way we should be doing that. And both political parties and every administration for decades has put up with their bullshit because we need oil.
Yeah.
Seriously? I mean, there's other oil other places.
There is. And look, regarding China buying up United States real estate, man, it's a lot. I remember it happening in New York City back when I was living there. 99 and 2000. Like, they're buying up all the high rises. You go into some of these places, man, and we'd be the only people inside the high rise. Shouldn't there be a law? Like if you were the governor of Texas, Chad, would you instill a law that you couldn't buy, somebody from overseas just couldn't buy land in Texas? I know that monorail system you're talking about, by the way, that goes, they wanted to go from the Austin airport to downtown, I think, underground. And that's just a fucking complete waste of money, I think. But whatever. Would you put something in place where it's like, hey man, who's buying this land and where the fuck are you from here?
Yeah, I'll go one step further. If I had my way, if people were moving in here, let's say from California, there should be a probationary period before they're even allowed to vote in state elections. And the reason I say that is I think there's a Texas way of doing something. I mean, at what point in time do we remind people that Texas was its own republic? It was its own nation. They could still fly their flag at the same height as the U.S. flag. There ought to be general concessions in the state of Texas that we stand alone. Apart from other states in being able to enact some things. So absolutely, not only foreign things that are coming in here and setting up, but also you have Greg Abbott who's sitting there with Elon Musk. Nothing against Elon Musk, nothing against Tesla, but when you're bringing in these California companies to set up, everybody looks up and says, well, that's great for the economy of Texas because, look, it's going to bring in all these new jobs. Well, what it's going to do is going to bring in all of these leftist ideals from these executives and these people that are higher up in the company coming in from California who have already destroyed the state of California. Now they're going to come in here and do the exact same thing in Texas. So I absolutely believe there needs to be some guidelines and some things that are set in place that we figure out where we can make it a little bit more difficult. Because let's face it, if you have sex with an ugly girl and you get her pregnant, that child is your responsibility for the rest of your life. You got that ugly girl in your life for the rest of your life. Well, if we're in here getting into bed with China in the state of Texas, that's a result and a fruit we're going to have to live with forever.
Yeah, it's true. And speaking of Musk, this morning he announced that he bought a house in Texas and he is moving from California to Texas, and he is a Texas resident. However, I will say in Musk's case, he's swallowed the red pill and he's just like, yo, I'm all done with the politics and bullshit of California. And I'm Texas, through and through. Their beliefs match up with mine is pretty much all he said on this conference call today. But you're right. It's the employees and everything else that comes along with it because a lot of these guys are coming out from California. The one thing that we always say on this show that we just can't figure out is like, man, you're moving from a place that collapsed because of bad politics and bad policies. Why do you want the new state that you're moving to be identical in the way of thinking? It's
the same old trope. It's the thing FDR campaigned about this during his first term for re-election. And it was like, beware of people who say that government is bad, but we can do it better than the people that are in there now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of a bastardization of do what I say, not what I do. The people think that they're fucking. Well, it's just like socialism never really been tried. You know what I mean? Not in a real way. Let's shut the fuck up, dude. Go to Venezuela, you stupid cunt, and see how you like it down there. I mean, here's the difference. It's not that somehow capitalism is intrinsically more holy, or it's like anointed from some god or some bullshit like that. It's not that. It is that individual liberty and the collective will of people is the ultimate vaccination and inoculation against tyrannical bullshit. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you need any more help, we got that Second Amendment too. You know what I mean? That's the whole fucking point of this goddamn country. They saw all these problems in the world. Well, the fucking French Revolution's going on, but they still have problems. Like they're talking about democracy. As a matter of fact, they invented it. They're talking about democracy, but they still have a despotic regime in charge. We can't do that. We can't have a king who there's no fucking rights. So what do we do here? What can we do to prevent this from ever happening again? They're like, you know what? We're going to prioritize individual liberty. We're going to give people the fucking tools to defend themselves against tyranny. And that's the entire point of this country. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, man, I guess we can change if you want. But I'm not going to do it quietly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't criticize the government on YouTube. Remember that. Hey, and I'll go one more step with that. I think the folks that are coming in from, say, California, they've been screwed by bureaucracy. I do 16 shows a year in California, great supportive state. But they'll come to Texas. These folks, a lot of them, they want to they have liberal ideas. They think that coming to Texas, that liberals are going to be different here. Liberal politicians are going to be different here than they were, say, in California. They're not. No. They're not. It's just a different striped zebra, right? It's still the same ilk. And these people come here thinking they're going to get something different by putting those people into place. That's why it's so dangerous when we start talking about people like Matthew McConaughey, who I like fine as a person. I like him fine as an actor. The guy, everybody loves Matthew McConaughey, right? Mm-hmm. But if Matthew McConaughey, who seems to say all the right things and claims to be an extreme centrist, which sounds great, but at the end of the day, he leans left. He's a leftist guy. That's going to be the type of person who's going to step in. And if he's ever made governor of the state of Texas, he will say, well, what's wrong with it? Well, he's going to make being blue, and he's going to make liberalism that much more palatable to people. And that's when you're going to see a real turn from Texas being purple to being full-blown blue, and it's the next California.
Since you brought it up, you could be running against him. He has mentioned himself running for governor of Texas, possibly. If he is a true centrist or a liberal, he would be running on the left. Obviously, you'd be running on the right. How do you think that would genuinely shape up in an election because McConaughey's so beloved by the state of Texas?
Well, first of all, it would be an uphill battle because, let's face it, politics is all about name recognition.
I've been saying that I've been saying it for years. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Donald Trump had 91%. You would think it'd be 100, but Donald Trump had 91% name recognition when he ran. Makes all the difference in the world. Name recognition is everything, where you put somebody on the ballot. The issue that I have with McConaughey is that his statement was exactly like I think his politics are. He says, it's something that I've considered. If they could get the system fixed, then I might consider getting involved with it. So rather than being a person who's going to come in and fix it, he says the focus is off, let's get that fixed, or you guys get that fixed, and then I'll step in and lead it. Well, that's kind of a horseshit answer or response, if you ask me, because it's not going to get fixed with the status quo. That's just not going to happen. It's politics as usual. I mean, what do we want? We want another Bush? Do we want George P. Bush or whoever to be, the governor of Texas?
Right.
I don't want another Bush. I don't want any more of that. I don't want Greg Abbott, who is obviously sold out to big business, possibly some China aspects of that as well. A guy who doesn't even want to serve a full term because Governor Abbott's already talking about running for president in 24, which is a joke. But hey, if you're the governor of Texas, you can't just quit politics. You got to get beat in politics. You just ask Governor Perry. Governor Perry runs for president, knows he's not going to win president, so he serves as Secretary of Energy for a year, and then he's at the country club or whatever it is that Perry's doing these days. And Abbott knows that as well. He'll ride off in the sunset, literally. So I say the same thing about McConaughey. Are you going to come in and fix this thing, or are you just going to bring a more palatable shade of blue in here? Because as a centrist, he'll still run as a Democrat, and as a Democrat, he's going to basically make it okay for Texas to vote left.
Right. I don't think he'll run though. To be honest,
I don't think he will either.
Yeah.
I don't think he will either.
No,
I don't think that people have said that. He's hinted at it, but I think again right now he's selling books.
Yes, and the new book is Green Lights. By the way, we're hoping to get him on the show next week, actually. But I don't think he'll end up running. We'll ask him, next week. But I think it's look, it's fun to entertain politics, and then when you actually get involved in it, you're like, oh man, this is fucking hard. Well, it requires all your goddamn days. McConaughey's making a gajillion dollars being McConaughey. I don't see him stepping down to take a gig that's, the governor of Texas.
$154,000 a year.
Yeah. Here's an interesting thing. So when someone first declares their intent to run for any political office, the average person asks the following questions, typically in this order. Well, what party? Mm-hmm. Right? That should be of no consequence, in my opinion. That's fucking stupid. Second question is, well, what are their policies? Which is a reasonable thing to ask, right? And the third question is, usually some like niche political stuff. People are single issue voters, maybe multiple issue voters, and they get down in the weeds and that shit. I think the most important question you can ask somebody who's about to run for political office is why? Why are you doing this? Is it to be popular? Is it for your ego? Because you're going to fail, and you're going to fail everybody. Fail on your own. Don't bring everybody else into your fucking bullshit. If your answer, however, is that I'm coming to fucking make change and I don't give a shit if people like it or not, I'm okay with that, frankly. And that's the one redeeming quality for me for Trump, aside from the fact that a lot of his policies were correct. The fact that he genuinely didn't care if people liked him or not is one of the most important features that any political candidate can have, because it's like what's her name, Nancy Grace or whatever the fuck, trying cases in the court of public opinion before they ever get to the actual courtroom, polluting the course of justice is what she's doing. And that's what we've done with American politics. It doesn't matter what the fuck you're actually there for. You just gotta be popular to get stuff done, do you?
Yeah.
Do you have to be popular to get stuff done? Because I've been unpopular as a leader frequently in my career in the military, in the government, and in other places in business. And it was more effective than being a capitulating pussy, frankly. And man, imagine the decisions you will make. Governor Abbott is a very good example of this. When you hold a certain set of beliefs, but you are such a coward that you can't stand the idea that people out there don't like you.
Well, he can't stand.
At all.
Yeah. So that's the first one. I mean, he can't get up out of the wheelchair. No, but with Abbott, shit, dude.
What if at the end of his term he just stood up and be like, psych?
Yeah, and just bounce.
Yeah.
You ever thought about running in a wheelchair?
I'd vote for him.
Yeah. Again, if
yeah, dude. I'd write him in even if he didn't run.
Yeah.
I've decided, I think this week's episode of shows, I've decided that I'm running as the first transgender, transracial gubernatorial candidate for governor. You can't vote against that shit.
No. Are you non-binary too?
I'm Charlene Prather. And it's going to work for me. I'm telling you, it's a plan that can't fail. You know, the thing about politicians is while they're elected representatives, they're leaders, right? But at the end of the day, they're not really leaders. I think you got the unqualified doing the job for the unwilling. And most of the time it's unnecessary. So you have these guys out here who don't have leadership qualities, because let's face it, you guys military, you know what it's like. You're not in the leadership role to be liked. You're not in there to have popular opinion or to have polls about you. At the end of the day, you're there to lead. You're there to save lives. You're there to help people find freedom and liberty and happiness and the pursuit of it. And those are the things, that everybody can't see that at the macro level. Like sometimes the person in the leadership position can, because they have a broader scope of vision. But you got to be able to do that. I love that about Trump. He didn't give a shit. He wasn't subject to political correctness. He didn't care what the mainstream media thought of him. He calls them out on the regular. He actually enjoys it. And that's the thing that I think America needs. Not somebody that comes out and is polished and smooth like a Barack Obama who thinks he's cooler than shit, but he never gets anything accomplished. Give me a guy that's a little bit rough around the edges. Give me a King Cyrus. Give me a Nebuchadnezzar. Give me a guy who's just kind of grubby and gruff and just a gladiator type warrior who's going to go in there and do the right thing for the people and represent them properly and say, you know what, before the enemies of the state get to you, they got to go through me. And that's the kind of shit I want.
Yeah.
I want it on the state level here in Texas.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the type of personality that Trump has would never allow this, but I think somebody with his attitude towards the media and political correctness would probably do a little bit better as a vice presidential candidate, right?
Yeah.
Like if he and Pence were in the opposite positions, Pence would be the guy calming everybody down, the calm but quiet CEO that's doing everything, and Trump would be the president of the company, and he's just lighting people up all the time. I think that would be a little bit more palatable for people, frankly. Although the left has its head so far up its own ass right now that it can smell its breath. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to get through to these people because you make a state like the whole thing in October, where it was every single day, why won't Trump denounce white supremacy? And literally somebody carved a video up of 20 years of him denouncing white supremacy.
Right.
Before he even thought about, before the fucking show even started. The Apprentice even started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it was 28 examples over 20 years. And they were like, no, I'm like, whoa, all right. Well, that's a video.
Yeah. Nah, nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't convince somebody with evidence, then they can't be convinced. And if someone can't be, if even you as an individual, if you're out there and somebody shows you compelling evidence and it doesn't move the needle for you, you're like, well, this is just what I believe, then you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Honestly, and you have no business voting in the first place. You should stay home on election day if you're that fucking stupid. I think there should be, I know that different types of tests and taxes have been used, particularly against black people, right, to keep them from voting over the years. And we've, come up with constitutional measures to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. I wouldn't be butthurt if there was a basic civics test and a basic logic test before you could vote. I think something like that would be interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, show somebody a controversial piece of information, but then show them the proof for it. Now, do you believe this? And if they say no, then there's a trap door in the bottom, and they just go out a giant water slide out into the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, we never see them again.
Yeah.
I think
that we don't need you. Or we can, it would be cheaper to do it that way. My real wish would be that we could fire them out of a cannon directly into the sun.
That'd be great.
Into Canada. Shoot them into Canada. I've said over and over again, if you want to get into this country from the southern border, we ought to have Mexican ninja warrior courses. If you get across, you're a citizen. There's no paperwork. There's no courts of amnesty. There's no ports of entry. You just got to get across with the entire family. You make it across, you get to be a citizen. But then on the opposite side, on the Canadian border, I think we ought to have slingshots and catapults to sling these bastards back over there who come down here and use capitalism in order to get rich and then want to turn us into a socialist country. Listen, putting conditions on people's ability and their rights to vote, that's not a new thing in this country. When the country was founded, you had to be a landowner.
Right.
You had to be a landowner in order to do that. I think we should go back to things like that. If you've never paid taxes, why the hell are you voting? If you've never owned land, if you've never owned property, you never paid a mortgage, why? If you've never had to deal with the constructs of being in a profession or a career or a job or having to answer to somebody and dealing with consequences, why should you be able to vote? We test people to death and make them pay extreme amounts of money just to become citizens in this country. And when they do become citizens, they know far more than the average person that's taking civics or political science at the college level.
Right. Yeah. I think requiring land ownership is probably problematic, but it depends on what you mean by taxes. People pay sales tax. Is that enough, or is it got to be income tax? Because we don't pay that here in Texas either, right?
Yeah, I got major issues with the whole tax issue as well. And that's one of the things, even property taxes. I don't believe in property taxes. I think taxation is theft. My point is, with that being the system that is set up, I believe in commercial tax. I believe in a tax on capitalism in that, because look, if I don't want to pay taxes, I shouldn't have to go buy anything. I don't have to go buy anything.
Right.
But with the system that's set up, we have people who have never taken responsibility to do any damn thing, and they're the ones who are determining who the leadership is in this country.
Yeah, look, you want to make sure that the people that are voting have a vested interest in what's going on there. That's why, if you look at any board or any IPO or any publicly traded company, that is always the case. There's always some impetus for people to be able to vote. Like, you have to buy shares in this company. What do we mean when we say buy shares in America? like you said, the tax thing is one of it, being actively involved in business and enterprise and making this country better. There's a lot of ways you can go about it. I am curious. There's always unintended consequences of shit like that. Because it's not about us and our best intentions or our fucking altruism. It is about the next person that comes along that might be able to twist that into something that is fucking unintended. You know what I mean?
Right.
You have to be really careful about shit like that. That's why I'm first of all, we should wipe all the laws off the book in this country and start over, because it's like a fucking mess right now. You have to write college.
Yeah.
You're writing a paper and you get like a third of the way and you're like, this is fucking bullshit. And you just delete the whole goddamn thing. I've done that so many times. I feel like we should delete everything except for the two things I mentioned earlier, right? Personal liberty and a government to defend us and our personal liberty, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Because what the fuck? Like, how do you build on that? It's like a camel, right? A camel is a horse built by committee. It's all fucked up. The neck's too long. Why the fuck are these humps here? It's stupid. This thing is not comfortable to ride. What the hell are we doing
You might want to put 3 people on there. You never know.
No,
it's a nice 3-person animal, which is rare to say in this
Just drag
world.
a wagon behind it, dude. It's not that complicated.
By the way, Chad, if you lower the property taxes in the state of Texas, I'll vote for you just based on that alone. Holy shit.
I want them completely eradicated, but I don't think it's possible with the bureaucracy the way it is right now. Certainly want them lowered, but I think they're unconstitutional. The idea that a person can never truly own their land, and they can come, you can pay for it in cash, and they can come kick you off of it if you don't pay taxes on it, is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I was talking to Bert Koontz the other day, actually, from Bison Union, etc. And just we were discussing the state of America and all this bullshit that's going on right now, and I'm like, yeah, personally, I'm looking for things to invest in that the government can't just take away from me. Right. And he says, what about land? I'm like, dude, you know how easy it is to take somebody's land away in this country right now? It happens
every day.
You can tax them so much that they can't afford it, or you can just fucking put an easement on it. You can do whatever the fuck, eminent domain. There's so many ways.
Yellowstone.
To rob people of their fucking land. Not just the government, but corporations as well. Yeah. So I don't know what it is. I mean, cryptocurrency maybe, but the U.S., if they really wanted to, could start a trade war, like a de facto trade war with cryptocurrency and devalue it completely. We have reached a point where the options have become increasingly limited for us to fight back against oppression, right?
Yes.
Like the idea that we could fight the government with small arms. I guess you could look at Afghanistan, you could look at Vietnam, Iraq. Yeah, it's possible for sure, but it's a fucking mess, and nobody wins that fight. So all these fucking chest thumpers out here that have never been in war before talking about civil war, why don't you shut the fuck up right quick, because you don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Unless you've been shot at and delivered rounds in return and won that fight, then I don't want to hear from you, frankly. But it is a problem though, right?
Yeah.
Like our options are severely limited. You have to get the permission from the government to sue the government. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to get express written permission from Major League Baseball or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to get express written permission from the government to be able to sue the government when they fuck you over. The government only exists because we say it does. You know what I mean? It's like fucking the Wizard of Oz. It's like Tinkerbell. There's this fucking thing behind the screen here, and if we all say, you know what, fuck that, it's over.
Yeah.
So I don't know what our ability to fight back is anymore.
I don't either, and you're right. It's getting more and more limited by the day. And my wife just says, "Look, man, I've just conceded that China owns us, and I'm happier on a day-to-day basis just being someone else's fucking monkey, And maybe she's right at the end of the day because she seems to have less stress than I do. So fuck it. Either way, you're a great fucking dude, Chad. I'm a huge fan of your show. We do this thing called the Drinkin' Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Who would you like to give the Drinkin' Bro of the Week to?
Mao Zedong, probably.
Yeah, big fan.
I mean, he won't shut the fuck up. Before the show started, he was just like, hey, look, we got to get back to the ways of General Mao, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
He took his cowboy hat off.
The chairman, dude.
The chairman.
Shut up. Dude, I gotta give it to my good friend Wade Trimmer. He's in Augusta, Georgia. Wade travels all over the world, man. He and I spent a lot of years together traveling third world countries, helping people get out of oppression, get out of oppressive situations, human trafficking, all this stuff, and just creating leaders around the world. And Wade is he's a mentor to me, older guy. He's kind of a father in the faith, so to speak. And I got to give him a shout out. He's a solid dude. My ways of doing things and his ways of doing things are very, very different these days, but we still have the same logic and the same rhetoric. So here's to you, brother.
Cheers. Absolutely, man. And then last question on the way out of here, since you were talking about the sign that they give out to people for best yard of the month. How is your yard? I'm pretty proud of mine. How's your yard looking?
I'm okay. I got some bare patches. I got some bare patches. We put in a new sprinkler system and cut back some trees, took some oaks off and things like that. But yeah, it's not too bad.
Do you have female dogs? Because they're murder on fucking lawns. I don't know.
Yeah, they all are, dude. I've heard that you got to put some enzymes in your dog food because I got dog shit everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's the urine from female dogs because it's all in a puddle in one spot, and the nitric acid rips everything out of the soil, right? So you have to follow your dog around and spray shit on it if you don't want that to happen. Or my dogs are all wearing diapers now.
Yeah, right. You diped up with the dogs?
Yeah, but they're human diapers. So they don't fit that well, and they always like tear them off and chew them up and shit.
Yeah.
So
biodegradable.
I'm trying to teach them how to use the toilet.
Yeah, standing up.
They're dogs, so
obviously
they can't figure it out. I don't know what the deal is.
Well, look, if you keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars, it might eventually happen one day. Chad, tell everybody where they can find you and your show.
Yeah, the one-stop shop for me is at watchchad.com, or they can go to chadprather.com. All goes to the same place. And, of course, find us on YouTube, Chad Prather. Just search it out, and Blaze TV.
Yeah, it's malzedong.com/Chad Prather.
Yep.
I think is the...
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember.
And then you're selling these T-shirts, Mao or less, and
yeah, exactly. Mao for less, Mao for less, the number 4.
Dude, you come back anytime, man. You're a great guest. We love having you. Check out Chad Prather's show if you have not seen it and or listened to it in your vehicle.
And if you're a sports fan, here in about 20 minutes, we're going to be live on the other channel in sports to talk about the NFL.
Sports. Yep.
And so we'll also cover some other stupid shit that's happening in sports over the last couple of days.
Yeah. So swing on over to Drinkin' Bros Sports channel on YouTube, where we will be going live, and obviously subscribe to that new channel as well on iTunes and Spotify and wherever you can find your podcast these days. For D'Anthony Holloway, Chad Prather, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros